Hi y'all, my name is Regina, and in my last post that I did of the bunny, Missy made a comment about making a video that shows what I did using the pre-cut pieces. So I'm going to try to explain this. I've only done a few videos, so bear with me. Hang on while I point the camera down so you can see my light box and what I do to get these pre-cut pieces done. I'm going to pause it just a minute. Okay, let me see. Yes, it's going. All right, so here we are. This is a light box that I bought a couple years ago that I absolutely love. It beats the one that was about this high and the same height, and I never could find a place to store it. My mother had given it to me when she quit quilting. This is called a Caterpillar Glow, and I've got the light on now. You just press this little button and it does have three intensities of light. And I also bought a cutting mat, and they cut on it as a demonstration, but I've never cut on it. I'm afraid I'll ruin it. But I do use it to draw, and in this case, I'm just going to take that off. So I printed out, this is the pattern of the bunny ears, the last block challenge that Missy gave us. And I printed it out in actual size. And I went through and marked the colors that I wanted to use. And sorry, you reused my paper, so it's probably showing through my dulcimer music. And so what I did was I starch my fabric before I use it. I use, what the heck is that stuff called? Hang on a minute. I use Terreal Magic to starch all my fabric with for everything I do, quilting, this kind of stuff, applique, whatever. So what you need to do to pre-cut your pieces is, this is my green piece. I'm going to use green here. And since I've done a white bunny, I'm going to do a brown bunny now. So I've got brown, 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 and green, green, pink for the ears here and here, and green. I'll keep the green because I've got plenty of it. So my first piece is going to be this center piece that's going to be green. So you want to trace that, and you want to give yourself a good ½ inch all around the red lines, which are the sewing lines that Missy has put in here in the pattern. And if surely all of you are like me, after a while you know a 1/4 inch and a ½ inch, but if you're just starting and you need to have a guide, you can use a little ruler, and on a light box you can see the ½ inch mark, and you can line it up and just draw. And you want to make sure when you draw your pieces, you're adding at least a ½ inch to start, which you're going to be cutting off, and make sure that outside this blue line, which is, where's my bunny, is the line that sews all the way around your block when it's done on the outside. You want to make sure you've got at least a ½ inch on that outside. So if you're going to use a ruler, just make sure, here's the blue line right here, and I have to go further out than this edge of this piece of paper because it's 8.5 by 11, but I measured it earlier, and that's probably why I had trouble. It's only about 3/8 outside the blue line, the blue stitching line. So you want to make sure that whenever you're tracing off of the template, that you go further out than the piece of paper. If you don't, then you could have some issues like I had on a couple of pieces. Okay, so use your ruler to draw, line it up on the red lines, which you can see really well through here. I've got a red line right here. And for those of you that will use a ruler, I just line it up, get a ½ inch outside the blue line or the blue line, and come down and use a draw pink line. So that's a very generous 1/2 inch. By the way, this is a Frixion erasable gel pen. You draw it and then you use an iron and it takes the line away. Just a word of caution, always test it on your fabrics, because I had a wall hanging that I used the blue Frixion, and when I ironed, it didn't go away. And last year before last, I found this blue line eraser. Lines go away and stay away. And I thought, yeah, right, sure they do. But I went ahead and bought it because I was desperate. I wanted to get my wall hanging finished. And it got rid of the markings, whether you're using the Frixion or any of these other so-called water erasable markers, whatever, that don't come out because of something in the fabric. It did work. It got out my blue lines that I had tried everything, and I love this stuff. Okay, so back to here. So you want to go outside your line. Oops, I got one too far out. Okay, let me do this again. I was on the wrong line. Let me go erase that away real quick. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so you see it got rid of my line that I marked. All right, so let's do this again. All right, so I'm outside. Here's my blue line right here. So I've got enough out here. I've got enough right here that whenever I cut, I'm going to give it a little extra. And I'm going to mark right outside that red line. I hope you can see it. And I'm going to use my little handy dandy tiny ruler here. Yes, I am on that line. Okay, so 1/2 inch. And I just draw that. And then I move it over here on this side. And draw that way. Okay, so also make sure on the bottom line, my bottom line is right here, my bottom blue line, make sure that you go out far enough. Yeah, you're going to cut most of this off, but you want to make sure you've got enough going around. All right, so hopefully you can see that. I've got my pink lines drawn for my centerpiece on my bunny, which is going to be the green part. All right, and then where's my white piece that I just did? Okay. Well, I had a white piece that I already drew the lines on. I'm going to pause this a minute. Okay, I'm back. All right, so here's my white that I used for, well, actually, it's not going to be white. It's going to be brown. Fiddly-dee. All right, so the brown is going to be a little harder to see the lines, but I did check before I started this video. And take this mat away. You're not going to be able to see them. I can. All right, so I've got a 1/2 inch, good 1/2 inch on both sides. And don't just look at one side. Make sure both sides, because these are at an angle, have enough fabric. And let's see here. I'm not going to be able to see this. Okay, so I'm just guesstimating here and drawing my line, and I'm coming further out than I need. And I've got, here's my red line here, and then I've got a red line here. I'm going to go all the way and cut up to there, and I'm going to cut across here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. So here's my first brown piece that's going to go on top of the green. This goes a lot quicker when you're doing it. I know it seems like it's taking a long time, but it's not. So as you can see, here's my red line, and here I've got plenty of fabric. Here's my red line here, and here's my red line here. So I have plenty of fabric on that one. And you know what? I'm just going to cut across here. I got so many scraps, it's not even funny. So I've got a piece of, that is way too big. I don't think I can handle all that. That's all right. Okay. So let me cut out my green piece that goes in the center. And I'll go over to the sewing machine. I already hooped. I hoop, I know some of you probably use stabilizer, but I hooped my my batting, and I do all the sewing on my batting. All right, so I'm gonna pause this. Okay, so I'm at the sewing machine, and I've got my hoop in. By the way, I'm doing the 8x8 size, and I've got my design loaded up. So the first, let me get back to it. All right, so my first lines that it's going to stitch are going to be for the placement of the green fabric, and I hope this doesn't end up moving. I'm using one of those fold-away tables for my sewing table, so let me... So there's my placement stitch. I don't know if you can see that or not. I've got it sewing out in blue. I wonder if I can, whoops, hold on. All right, I don't know if y'all can see it. So here's my placement line. So I'm gonna put this right here now. Missy, I kind of double sew on your lines just for me. And I'm just gonna, let's see here. Okay, so this would normally just stitch down. I know the white or the brown or whatever color you're making the bunny. Oh, fiddly dee. Okay, I'm gonna pause it. All right, so I'm back. All right, so now it's gonna do the sewing stitch, and I kind of do a double thing here. Sorry, Missy. This was the only way it made sense to me to do it. All right, so that I'm gonna use, that's the sewing line that Missy has in the pattern, but I'm going to back up one on my machine, and I'm going to grab my brown fabric, and I place it. Oops, I need to trim a little bit. Where's my, there they are. I'm so right-handed, I have to pull this out and trim it where I can get a good a decent 1/4 inch here. So I trim this down. Okay, and while I'm here, let's see, turn this around because I use the duck bill to kind of keep me straightened out. All right, so we trim that off. Stick this in here. And I know probably other people don't do it this way, but this is the only way that I can get myself straight on it. All right, so now I put down my brown fabric, which is the ears. All right, and I've gone back to the line that just stitched down the green. I've gone back to it, and just so that I can show you what's going on here. All right, so then I put that down, and my thread, why is it not staying threaded? Darn it. All right, so letting this stitch down my brown. That's my first piece for my ears. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Okay, gotta pause. Okay, so you sew all the way down to the bottom. Flip your fabric over. I have this Clover fabric folding pin that I just love, and all you do is go down the, you kind of got to prime it here. Whoops, too much. And you go down the stitch line, the top back on, you fold this over, and it gives you a nice crisp line. Okay, so now we've folded that over. Okay. And we're going to put on our, oops, I've done some stitching with this before. Pull this out here, I didn't see it. Don't want all that brown fabric. Okay, so then we put this fabric down on the where I trim my 1/4 inch. I put it down that, I make sure that there's enough at the bottom, there's enough at the top, and so so let me switch back because for whatever reason it didn't. I don't know what's going on. It's been doing this all day. Okay. So I kind of go down my stitching line with the fabric pin, fabric folding pin. I always put the top back on, or at least, and then just kind of finger press it down. Right. So I've got enough over here, and whenever it gets to, let's see here, is it at that line? Okay, so this is going to be stitching where the next piece would go, which is where the pink would go. So I would let it stitch, and it gives me a guide. That's the blue line. There it goes again. Oh, don't tell me I'm going to have to take it in. Put it down. I don't know why it's doing this. All right, so it's stitching the blue line. Okay, so at this point, if you wanted to go ahead and trim your brown fabric or your white fabric, whatever color your bunny's going to be, you can go ahead and trim. And as you can see, I had plenty of fabric left, and I really don't care because this is all scrap fabrics that I'm using. All right, so, okay, so now the next thing to do is to lay your pre-cut pink fabric. And I just did the pre-cut on it, just like I did on the brown and the green that I showed you. And you take and you lay it with the very edge, along the very edge of your brown. Okay. So I've laid that down along the edge, and so far I've not used any kind of spray adhesive or anything, and I've not had any problems with any of the fabric moving. Let's see if that's going to hold this time. There it goes. Nope. I swear to my soul. I had plenty of tail out there. Pull that tail out a little longer. there's the pink ear. I use my fabric folding pen. I'll just go down along the sewn line and flip it over and press it down. As you can see, it goes all the way out past all this other fabric, so I know I've got plenty. Okay. Alright. And then I need a piece for over here, so I'm going to go ahead and let it sew this line for my placement line. Whoops, put that down. Grab that tail, make sure that it the placement line for the other pink. I'm gonna be right back. Sorry, I had to grab my other pink. All right, so I've got my line sewn, and I'm gonna trim this off, leaving me about 1/4 of an inch. And then it doesn't have to be exactly 1/4 of an inch, and this, since I didn't pull it out and turn the hoop around, it's not even going to be that. All right, get rid of that, and I'm going to clean my fabric. I'm hoping it's going to go all the way over there. It should, because I left a generous 1/2 inch on it. Move this over a little bit. Just slide that back on, press that down, and okay, so I use my fabric folding pen and go down on the line it just stitched. And give it a little finger press there. Okay. So you can see, come on, come out of there. All right, so here's what I've done so far. So that was my process. And that way I don't have a whole lot of fabric out there getting my brain bumfuzzled, and the pieces fit pretty good without having a whole lot of stuff hanging out all over everywhere. All right, so I hope that helps anybody else whose brain doesn't function right doing this kind of stuff. And for me, it was a whole lot easier. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Or if you have any suggestions, man, I will welcome suggestions. All right, have a good day. Bye-bye.